Hello everyone! Today we are going to talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We are going to be going over the major events of his work as a civil rights leader, not his entire timeline. We're going to highlight when he became a minister and then move into when he got involved with the civil rights movement, since these two events are connected. His life as a minister helps him be the civil rights leader that we know him as today. Begin with Dr. King as an early leader. In 1955, he received his Ph.D. for systematic theology from Boston College in Boston, Massachusetts. This gave him the title of Dr. Martin Luther King rather than just Reverend King. You can see him as a reverend in the picture on the side of this slide. Also in that year, he led the Montgomery bus boycott because of the experiences that Rosa Parks went through. She was arrested for sitting in the white or the front section of the bus. This part of the bus was only reserved for those who are white. And she refused to get up, so she was arrested by Alabama authorities. However, in 1956, buses are desegregated in Alabama because it is unconstitutional. This boycott led to the Supreme Court saying that this practice was unconstitutional. This was one of the first major events of Dr. King's career as a civil rights leader. In 1959, he was invited and meets with the family of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was a peace leader in India who was actually an inspiration for many of King's peaceful protests in the United States. Then in 1960, he is arrested for a sit-in in a restaurant in Greensboro, North Carolina. A sit-in is a peaceful protest where the protesters sit down in place and do not leave even when asked to do so by authorities. This is just the beginning of Dr. King's movement. This movement heats up in the 1960s. So now we're going to move into the heat of his movement. After being arrested once again in Birmingham, Alabama, he writes his famous letter from Birmingham jail in 1963, which was later published in many of the newspapers. So on the bottom right-hand corner of the slide is a picture of his mugshot from the jail in Birmingham, Alabama. He is later released and goes on with his movement. This doesn't stop him. Even being arrested does not stop Dr. King. On June 23, 1963, he led a group of 125,000 people in a freedom walk in Detroit. This event leads up to one of his most famous events in his timeline, his I Have a Dream speech. In Washington, D.C., on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial on August 28, 1963, he delivers this speech to over 250,000 people who were present in D.C. for this event. There were people of all colors, backgrounds, economic statuses listening to this speech because Dr. King was such an influential person. Then, in 1964, he is the youngest person to receive the Nobel Peace Prize as of this part of history. The Nobel Peace Prize is pictured as this gold circular object right here. That is Mr. Nobel on the front part of it. Fortunately, this man's journey is coming to an end. In 1966, Dr. King begins to focus on other issues with the March Against Fear. But then, on April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King is shot on the balcony of his Memphis hotel. His assassination rocked and saddened the world. Dr. King was missed because of his influential speeches and how much he loved the people of this great nation. And since so many people loved him and he was such an influential person, in 1986, President Ronald Reagan signs a law declaring the third Monday in January Martin Luther King Jr. Day. These are just the main points of his civil rights movement. Dr. Martin Luther King met many people and saw many things. There's so many things left to unpack about his life and the great things he did in it.